Hi, my name is Winsley, and welcome to this week's Beginner's Guide. A couple months ago, I got a comment requesting that I talk more about the units in the game and how to properly use each of them. So I decided way back then to make a beginner's guide for each of the NPC factions that were currently in the game, with the addition of two new NPC factions. In the Invasions DLC, I decided that I wanted to start my beginner's guide series for this new content by covering each of those two factions in detail, just like I did with the original NPC factions. I'm counting the Voidbringers as an NPC faction. I know they're not there at the beginning of the game, they're an invasion, but they operate a lot like an NPC faction and in fact share a lot in common with the Psi-Fish. If you want to check out that video, that's on my channel. I put it up about a week ago. If you're seeing this now, I put it up a week ago, a week before this video went up. So yeah, it covered things like the units that were useful, the mods, and the doctrine. Today we're going to be doing the same by discussing all of those things for the Therian dwelling. I tend to cover one Planetfall topic in detail once per week, so please feel free to come back next week for another Planetfall video. Alright, so the first unit we're going to talk about here is the Therian Prowler, who is actually a pretty nice tier 1 unit if we compare his base stats to the Spacer Psycho. He has a little bit less HP and a bit more armor, which means that he will be a little bit harder to kill off. I think having one more piece of armor will protect him more than having a little bit more HP. But it kind of depends what you're facing off against. If you're facing off against something with a psychic attack, they're going to bypass all of that armor and only look at shields, which they both have 0 shields. Let me just pull that up really quickly so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Psycho. Yeah, he only has 45 HP, 1 thingy, and 32 movement points, which is pretty important for a melee unit. If this guy is going to get in melee range, you may need to run a little bit further forward than your other units. This guy can go 1 here on his first action point, 2 on his second action point, and then 3 hexes on his last one. That's because he's got 40 movement points. I'll just show you here. This guy can do 1, then 2, and then 2 more hexes like that. And then if I compare this red zone, I can actually go 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes in the red, whereas this dude can go 1, 2, 3. And if you have a lot of melee guys, you can just kind of run them really far forward and surround the enemy so that they get melee overwatch, allowing you to do some really cool stuff if you have fast movement. But not all melee units have it. This guy does. He's got a cool melee attack that actually has a status effect it can apply. It can apply bleeding. You need to be, of course, right next to the target. That makes sense. Melee is always, adjacent. This requires a range of 5. You need to be relatively close. It'll cause knockback, which is awesome. It's great for knocking people out of cover, allowing your units to then get some easy shots. Let's say we were fighting a guy and he was hiding right here, and then we used that knockback ability. We ran this guy forward and shot him. We used the shotgun to knock him back, and then our sniper unit would probably have an easier time shooting the unit once it's out of cover, unless he's gotten to his prime rank, which I think, yeah, bypasses cover. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We still are talking about our Therian Prowler. He's got a basic defense mode, nothing fancy there. When he loses 66%, or excuse me, 33% of his health, when he gets to 66% or lower, then this unit and all friendly adjacent units within 2 hexes gain 20% increased damage for 2 turns. So not just people here, but people that are 1 and 2 hexes away. So there, and all the way around would work. This unit would be a little bit too far away, but that's okay, because you don't want to cluster up too much. Sometimes you give your guys a little bit of space to keep damage that jumps from jumping, or from keeping them from getting one giant grenade on all of them. Say an enemy targeted this hex right here, it hit 3 units. That's pretty bad. If they targeted here, they'd hit 3 units there. So also not great, but the Therians kind of need adjacency to get the most out of their skills. It's not necessary. Of course, you can space your guys out and keep them relatively safe that way. And if they drop below 66%, they can actually help out people who aren't quite adjacent. So one bit of space in between could be all you need to keep them safe, while also getting a chance of applying their pheromones to their friendly units. Now this unit, when he gets to prime rank, he gets critical, which I believe gives extra critical chance. Let's see how much. 10%, that's actually quite a lot. If you've got yourself positive morale, that will add up very, very quickly. I think once you're at 200 morale, you get like 10%, and at 400 morale, you get 20%. I could be wrong. It may be a little bit less than that, but that will stack up nicely with your morale bonuses if you can get them going for the Therians. If maybe you've got a high relationship with them, then that would really, really work well in your favor. Okay, so the next unit we're going to talk about is the Bouncer, which is probably one of my favorite units in the game, period. I mean, it's one of my favorite new units, but it's so cool and so fun. Just like, look at this art design. It's a rabbit with robot legs and 2 giant submachine guns. I mean, that's pretty cool. But the mechanics that go into this unit, I think, make it even cooler. It's got these little dual pistols. Yeah, sure, cool. It's range 5, but he can give other units skitter. That's amazing. I love skitter. It doesn't say what skitter does. He doesn't come with skitter right away, but if we pull up skitter here, you'll see units become 5% harder to hit for each hex that they move last turn. I believe that there was some discussion about how this works with leap and bound. I think that it applies skitter. We can actually we can't test it out because he doesn't have skitter here. We may be able to once we have mods on these units, which I'll do in a little bit. We'll go through their just base stats and then move on to the other stuff, because we want to compare like their normal HP and armor and stuff to everything else, and it's easier to do that without mods. So yeah, he starts off with 45 HP. That's not a lot of HP, but for a tier 2 unit, 3 armor is quite nice. That's a lot of defense. Should keep him alive relatively well if you give them some HP modifiers, something that like a leader skill that gives them plus 5 HP, or a building thing. Some buildings give things like extra HP or armor to your units, or just a mod. This could really help this unit stay alive a lot longer, because he has the base armor. No real defense from shields, so you may want to put some shields on here. And yeah, we've talked about the base stats. Now we can go and jump into these things. This will leave you an action point, which means that I think you can't use Bulletstorm right afterwards. We should maybe test that. Bulletstorm is cool. You spin around with pistols attacking units within a 2 hex radius. It's kind of like a grenade, but you are the grenade, and then you get defensive mode after. Switch with this unit is really, really good. Let's just see what happens if I go here, leap and bound. So he can do that. Aha! And then if something was close enough, he'd be able to target it. I think it's just oh, because he's done his thingy, he's jumped, then he would he could only do that into the units around him. So if I wanted to, I could like shoot this stuff. I just shot that car, I think. Haha, take that car. It's a pretty cool skill. So yeah, I don't know if that would apply to skitter just jumping around like that, but I have a feeling that it probably will. That seems like something that would synergize well, and something that I could test relatively easily. If it doesn't work like that, I'll edit in at this point in the video. That's not how it works. Skitter works differently. He's a cyborg. I think that's different than the other ones. All the other ones are biological. It means he can probably interface with some techs a little bit better or not as well. Cyborg usually allows you to interface with a couple more things 'cause it's kind of like robots and organics. And yeah, I think we might be ready to move on. Did we talk about his prime rank? No, we did not. Evasive, haha. That's one of my favorites. It's so good. Yeah, both of these require that you're pretty close to your enemy, just like earlier. It's pretty good damage. This is repeating. Let's check out what evasive actually says. So if I type this in here, evasive will make your unit 15% harder to hit. If you combine that with skitter, this unit's going to be really, really hard to hit. And then it has some pretty good defenses, so even if it does take damage, it should be able to kind of tank a little bit better than similar units, similar tier 2 units. What class are you, skirmisher or something? I forget. But yeah, you're good. You're really, really good. I like this unit. I've been playing around with them a lot recently. I like really any kind of unit that has this upgraded defense mode, but combined with all the other extra evasions, this one's going to just be tough to deal with. Unless I think you have melee. I think melee may be able to counter this unit pretty hard, so keep that in mind. You don't want to run too far forward. That could be kind of bad for you. So now we are ready for, I think, the sharpshooters were the next unit. They're tier 2, right? Yeah. Okay, so these units are awesome. I love them. They're the only Therian unit that can reach outside of range 5 without their prime rank. I think the squirrel thing, it can reach outside of range 5 once it ranks up, but this guy, he's got 9 range on his base attack. That's awesome. It's a sniper, you need a full action. This one has range 7 on his second attack. You know, that makes sense. It's like most snipers. Don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's just look at these base stats up here. So he has 45 HP, only 1 armor, and 32 HP. He's a lot easier to kill enough. He's a sniper, so yeah, like you may have guessed, you want to keep him far away from the fighting, and just throwing in damage here and there. A lot of high damage every once in a while. His primal pheromones will make it so that you can get extra crit chance for 2 turns, which is pretty nice. Plus 20% extra crit chance is pretty awesome, unless you were already going to get a crit. So it's not one of the pheromones that I'm a big fan of. But if he loses a little bit of HP, which isn't that hard for him to do, he can definitely trigger that pretty easily. Which isn't necessarily a good thing, right? If he's losing HP, then he's in danger, and he's probably gonna get killed off if you're not able to get other units there super fast. So yeah, let's now look at these things. This can apply deliberating infection to biological and cyborgs, so just not robots. And I think that one is really nasty. Which one is this one? 20% easier to hit. Ooh, and minus 400 morale. Making them 20% easier to hit is massive. I mean, the other units can get closer, so they don't really need the boost to hit. But other snipers, if you put this with a bunch of other snipers or other things that have to shoot from far away, he could really soften up targets. I think if you did this with like a Promethean build, you could get some really easy shots on a lot of units by just increasing your hit chance on them. I think burning and immolate increases your hit chance on units. And you know, you don't even need your, it looks like you don't even need full action to get in that debilitating infection. The snapshot will also attempt to apply that as well. That's super cool. That's super nice. And we haven't even talked about my favorite shot. He can heal units from 9 tiles away. Sure, it can only be used once per battle, but that is awesome. That is a really far range, and that will give you a lot more strategic options. If you want to run some units further forward, you can give them some healing later on. Maybe you've got like a really nice tanky melee unit that you want to give some HP to. This would work really well with that, which, you know, Kind of makes sense, seeing as the tier 4 unit is a melee unit. This guy can support that really, really well with his little healing shot. Yeah, no extra upgraded stuff here. Improved Overwatch is pretty typical for a sniper. We talked about this already. He's also an infantry like all the other ones that we've looked at. And prime rank gives bypass cover. I think that means that it doesn't have to deal with any of the... Oh no, it does have to deal with 50% of the cover penalties and units in the way, but not all of it. 50% is a pretty big drop. If you can get some things that increase your accuracy, that cover modifier won't be very, very important at all. But you do have the Prowlers who can knock things around to help you out if you do need that as with your Sharpshooter units to get some nice clean shots. Yeah, we're ready to move on, I believe, to the Squirrel thingy. Where are you, Squirrel man? Found you. You're so cool. You're so cute. So cool. I love it. I know some people aren't a fan of this unit. They think it's too goofy for Planetfall. I think it's perfect. I think it's really fun. He starts off with 55 HP, 3 armor, and 1 shield. That is a lot of HP and armor for what looks like a tiny little squirrel, but he is the tier 3 unit, so I guess that checks out. I think that compares well to the other tier 3 units that you can have access to. What's the Shattered Heart arc do again? How much do you have? You've got 55 HP, 2 armor, 1 shield. You're supposed to stay pretty far back, so I guess it makes sense that you have a little bit less armor. Yeah, this unit has to get relatively close to its friendly units to use its skills. Or excuse me, the enemy units to use these skills, and I think these ones, they require range 5 as well, so you do have to get pretty close to your friendly units and the enemy units, so having a little bit of tankiness, yeah, that makes a lot of sense for this unit to have. The Bio Acorn has a little poison it can apply. I think that's one of the lower stats effects that you can get poison, but it is nice to get anything. Poison. Yeah, okay, got it. Takes 5 damage per turn and has minus 200 morale. That's okay. That's pretty good, I guess. If you combine it with other things, you could really drop somebody's morale. I think this combined with the deliberating infection could be very nice. Yeah, it's good to have units that can apply different types of sass effects, so that's cool. That will work well with the others. Has a cooldown of 1 turn, so I guess you can't use it every other turn. You'd have to alternate between this one, the Bio Acorn, which does a bit more damage, and the Slowing Acorn, which doesn't do as much damage, but it releases a slowing cloud, which will cause 10 damage and have a chance to apply slow to units moving through it or ending their turn on it, so that will be just like a fire on the ground. It can apply to your units and enemy units. So yeah, just kind of like put it in a place where the AI is likely to pass through, and you'll probably do a lot of damage, maybe apply some status effects along the way. It can be used once every other turn, so yeah, you could just literally alternate between these two and no other skills, which is just great. These are awesome skills here, but if you want to just deal damage, deal damage. Now, Healing Acorn, this can only be used once per battle. It is like the sniper thingy. They've got a little heal thing, but hopefully you don't need to heal more than once a battle. I think, yeah, when these guys are adjacent to another Therian unit, they regenerate 8 HP per turn. All of the Therians get that, so you hopefully don't need to use Healing Acorns too often. If you've got a lot of Therians in your stack, maybe you've only got 1 or 2, so that could lead to some issues. But then maybe you have another unit that can heal better, that has a repeating heal. Okay, so this will do a healing cloud for 2 turns. So it's not like an immediate big heal. It's going to give you 12 HP on 1 turn and then 12 HP on the next turn. There's definitely other heals that are better that just do 30 HP in 1 turn. But this means that it can apply that to multiple units. So it's not really just 12 over 2 turns. It's 12 in 1 hex over 2 turns, or rather 24 over 2 turns. and then you can do that and multiply that by 7 because it could apply to the 6 hexes around that. So hypothetically, yeah, you get a lot of value out of that healing if you stack a lot of units very close to each other, but do you really want to do that? I could open them up to all kinds of staggerings and damage jumping in between them. So a resistance acorn. Now that's pretty cool. I like the sound of this. Increasing your units resistances by 2 for 2 channels is quite good. Now it seems that this only affects friendly units. I don't think that can actually apply to enemy units. I haven't tested that, but I think that this is a little safer than the healing acorn. Yeah, because this doesn't say anything about friendly units. This does right there in the text. So yeah, keep that in mind. When he drops below 66% health, units near this and this unit will gain regeneration, which is, I think, a really good one. Regeneration. Yeah, this is the defense mode regeneration. I think this will just allow them to heal 8 HP per tactical turn. Yeah, that checks out, I think. It's like the Kirko thingy. So yeah, it can allow you just to heal a little bit up like that. So yeah, if you're looking for healing, standing these guys next to each other, especially like a chemist that's taking damage, could really help you heal up a bit. Maybe in combination with some operations that give your guys extra defenses or HP. Yeah, that could be good. Okay, so have we talked about his prime rank? He gets a little bit of extra range, which means he could throw these grenades out to 6 hexes away from him, and that means that it can actually hit the a 7th one. Like if I go in here, I try to throw his grenade, you can see that it goes out to the 5, but it would also affect out there. And if I had one more range, I could throw 2 here and then hit the hexes a little bit further out. Yeah, because this is 1. It's hard to see, 2, 3, 4, 5 hexes away. That seems about right. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can count the hexes here in the movement. So apex thingy, I think we're ready for this. I don't think I missed anything here. So let's take a quick look at you. You've got a carbon sword. Now let's look at the stats first up here. He's got 70 HP, 5 armor, and 1 shield. So melee bypassed shields and psychic damage bypasses armor. He's very, very susceptible to psychic damage, but pretty safe against melee. He's all about running into melee and engaging the enemy there if they're interested in melee. But they're probably gonna run away, I think. Inspiring Roar. No, that doesn't scare you away. It's not like the Tyrannosaurus thing. It's just to help out friendly things. So I think I would run away from a giant lion with a super awesome sword. So the carbon sword is going to induce panic. Okay, so that's actually kind of what I was thinking. It does a little bit of armor bypass, ignores 3 points of armor. So if they only have 3, it's basically like they don't have armor. But if they have a little bit more, it's like they have 3 less points. It's a pretty big deal. That will definitely help you do a lot more damage to a couple of units in the game. Panic is awesome though. That will make the enemy just run away from you. And if you're a melee unit, then I think you get a free attack, yeah, on that unit. So pretty awesome if you can use your carbon sword to trigger panic. Inspiring Roar will heal this unit and all friendly units within 3 range. You know, I hadn't seen that earlier. We've got 3 options to heal with the apex, or with the Therian units. You've got the sniper, you've got the squirrel, you've got this lion apex thing that can heal. That's awesome. It gives you extra morale too, and that'll increase your crit chance. That'll let your snipers do a lot more damage. There's a lot of synergy there. That inspiring roar is super nice. Pounce, it's kind of like the bouncers. They've got a thing that can allow them to jump around. This guy can go 5 hexes away from him, which I think is a pretty big jump, and then do quite a bit of damage. It has a cooldown of 0, so you can just keep jumping around like that. That's awesome. So yeah, it'll leave you 1 point, so I think you can actually attack after you use that. I targeted something like you. I can jump to you and then use the attack like that. That's a really nice combo, being able to pounce and then attack. Sorry, Squirrel Man. Did you trigger your thing? Is he regenerating now? Yes, he forced you to regenerate him. That's pretty awesome. So his thing is Pride. It gives you extra resistance to damage when this guy starts to take a lot of damage. So yeah, it will keep him and all surrounding units alive a lot longer. I think that makes sense to have this guy take a lot of damage early to run him forward to just trigger that skill, because it'll keep everyone else a lot safer and able to come a little bit further forward while staying safe at the same time, or relatively safe. He gets Shrug off, which will allow him to ignore a couple status effects. It'll give him extra resistance against status effects, so pretty awesome. Okay, let's jump into the mods now. Okay, wow, I hadn't realized I'd been talking for so long. So yeah, I'll try and keep this relatively quick. I want to make sure that I don't spend too long on the mods or the doctrines, but I do want to make sure I talk about the details as much as possible. I have gone and restarted this battle, but now my units have some mods. This unit right here has the 3 mods that I could apply to it, and I believe all the Therian units can take those 3 mods and only those 3 mods. Or excuse me, if those 3 mods can apply to those units, and then there is some other things that you can apply, other mods that you can buy, but you can't apply them to any Therian units. Those mods are DNA something or others. This thing is one of them, a DNA injector. So you got one for each of the Therian units. You can basically turn your heroes into one of them, and then they get things like the Inspiring Roar and all the fun little things. They can get another attack through their secondary weapon, so you could put like a Imperial Launcher on that, and you've got a really, really strong hero. This looks like a really fun way to play. I think I'm going to try this out in my game where I've got a Therian next to me. When I possibly can, I'm going to put this on a commander. So yeah, really nice opportunity with that mod. Let's just click on one of these units to go through what the mods say. So this one right here says that you get fast movement and +2 resistance, as well as a little bit more armor. This unit I think started off with 40 movement points. This one did not, and now he does because of the fast movement. Fast movement increases. I don't need to go that fast. I think. Come on. Yeah, here we go. 40 movement points. So it's a nice thing to be able to put on your other units, especially like your bouncer or your chemist, if you need to run him a little bit further forward to get him into safety, or to start staggering things or heal other units. That would be very, very nice. Or also to get your guys to be adjacent to each other. That could be very helpful for that kind of thing. They do have to stay relatively close to each other, so that is super, super useful. Now flanker. Flanking attacks will have a 8 chance or 12 chance if they're single attack, or an 8 chance if they're repeating, to apply cripple. It gives you extra armor, which is always nice. Having extra defenses you can spell. Is there 2 Ps? I think there's 2 Ps. So this will make it so units have reduced movement and reduced accuracy. So pretty important. If you can reduce something's accuracy and stay at a decent distance, then they're not going to be able to do a lot of damage to you. But it seems like a lot of our guys here have melee things, so it may not actually help you that much if you're engaging in melee, because they're right there. They don't have to move very far, and then the reduced accuracy isn't going to really matter because they're right up in your face. Now, this one is really cool. I love this mod. This mod will give you increased damage, or 30% extra damage on all of your abilities, as well as the ability to trigger your pheromones without anything nasty happening to your units. That's awesome. This unit right here now can move in like here, and all of a sudden you can trigger that. And next turn, I can actually jump around and see how that affects your skittering. That doesn't require full thing, so I can run you forward, right? Oh boy, actually that was a bad test. So you're at 45 skitters, now 30. What if I go like that? It didn't increase his skitter. I don't think that this actually applies skitter. Okay, well, that's good to know. Let's move on to mods now. I think we're ready, right? We've talked about all the mods that I have applied to my stuff. Yeah, mod time. Okay, so we're actually almost ready to move on to doctrines. I misspoke at the end of the last little segment. I know we're supposed to move on to doctrines soon, but I did just see that I missed one mod in here that is pretty cool and worth talking about. The Therian ally insignia cannot be applied to Therians. They just don't have that option. This unit could get it if they were not already a Therian thing. So I'm going to take this off, and then we're going to come in here and grab the Therian ally insignia, which basically allows them to get the modifiers, for the Therian modifiers, as well as a little bit of extra shields. It gives them a little bit extra shields. They gain bioregeneration as their skill. So I forget what regen is. That's the one that the I think the Squirrel has. I think you have the, yeah, this one exactly. Okay, cool. That's how that one works. Now we can take a quick look at our doctrine. Black market connections will give you an extra 15% of energy for selling rewards as, or not, it won't give you extra, it'll give you 15% of that energy as Cosmite. So if we go in here and we see this, we got something that's going to you sell for 11 energy, another thing for 17, another for 123. If I come in here, activate that, and that's actually turn on this so that we don't have to wait that many turns. And yeah, it should come through now. Probably didn't have to actually do that to show off that our numbers are different now. We've got 11, that's the same, 17, that's the same, and 123, that's the same. But as you can see, some of the Cosmite, or some of the energies is not being turned into Cosmite, but is now allowing us to get Cosmite. Yeah, it's an interesting little interaction. But yeah, that's everything I wanted to highlight with this video. There are a couple little strategies that I could go over briefly, like the fact that they're all infantry units. But if you're interested in seeing those details, you could go to my posts on the forums, or Reddit. I'll try and keep posting my guides to those places because I think it's a good place for people to become aware of what I've been working on without necessarily watching it here. But yeah, thanks for sticking around until the end. I'll see you around. Have a good one.